guys, welcome to the Weight of Time and salud. Oh man, why is beer so good? I think it's the best invention ever. Must be my German roots. I love it. My abs, not so much, but I do. Today I wanted us to talk about grief. And as we age, we grieve not only death, which obviously is really hard to deal with, and the older we get, the more funerals we attend, but also the little things that we go losing with age. You know, I want to start with the loss of independence, which is huge. I'm going to use my mother as an example because I haven't really lost a lot of independence yet, thank goodness. But I saw that process in her, and it was not easy. She started with losing her husband of 25 years, my stepfather, and that was a big blow for my mother. It was her second husband, and they were very happy together. And losing her husband of so many years, it just changed her will to live, I think, a little bit. But then she started losing independence. My mom was a very social person. She used to love going to social activities, be with her friends, charities. So many charities and volunteering. So she was always in and out of the house. She got ill relatively early in her life. She had really bad arthritis, and it affected her lungs, and she had some sort of syndrome that was drying her up. I don't know. But little by little, she could do less things. Yeah? And I think the biggest blow to her was when they took her car away from her. Because that was just the end of her ability to move around, to go here, go there, do anything she wants. It was not good. And honestly, she was very lucky. She actually fell asleep at the wheel. And thank God and all the angels and whatever protections that we have, she didn't kill herself or somebody. But it was probably her lack of oxygen. She couldn't really breathe. And, obviously, we all stepped in and said, "You're not driving anymore," which she agreed to, begrudgingly, but she did. I mean, you can't fall asleep at the wheel. Come on. So all of a sudden, she had to rely on somebody to take her here or there. Now, my mom was in La Paz, Bolivia, and in La Paz, there's very good public transportation in the area she was in, and all over the city, really. But, you know, she started feeling less safe. She could have afforded a driver, but she didn't want one, you know? She wanted to go out on her own terms. So that led to, not leaving the house that much. Her friends were such champions. They'd show up on Monday, the ladies that crochet or embroider or do rugs or whatever. On Tuesday, the card players. On Wednesday, the prayer group. You know, they were just so good about that. They'd come to her since she couldn't go to them. Especially when she became really dependent on oxygen, which happened in the last period of her life. But for me, as a younger person, watching her lose her will to live, I hid my sadness and my grief for her in irritation. It's like, I just couldn't understand why my mother couldn't be happy. Well, easy for me, right? I could go wherever the hell I wanted to and do whatever I wanted and travel and not have to depend on anybody. She couldn't. And rather than be empathetic and think about, well, this is probably really, really hard for my mother, I was not. I was irritated. My mother and I had a good relationship, complicated, like everybody or some people have with their mothers, but we were friends. And, she'd defend herself sometimes when I have a snarky remark about, why do you always have to say you're just okay? Why can't you say you're fine? You might even start believing that you're fine. And my mother would, sometimes she'd tell me, why don't you go fuck yourself? Because you can do whatever you want with your life and I can't. And sometimes she'd just like do what I do now and listen to me and just be quiet and just like, whatever. I'm sure she was thinking, oh, this, what a pain in the ass this woman is. I didn't mean ill. I actually thought I was trying to help her, to get through this stage of her life. But yeah, it was very easy for me, again, because I wasn't in her shoes. And as independent as I am now, still, I can imagine that it must be really, really hard. Actually, when I had the restaurant a few years ago, I broke my right ankle and I sprained the left one at the same time. And for a while there, I couldn't stand. I couldn't put any weight on my ankles until they, lost the swelling. So I had to ask my kids to give me baths to help me move. And it was just a very short time, but I hated it. Yeah. I've come to a point now where I get physical and they ask me, they do a depression screen. And I'm not a depressive person, but on the other hand, again, I'm not in the situation that my mother was. And my mother slowly fell into this deep depression. And all she wanted, we'd talk and she'd say, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to do this anymore. Why do I have to live? I want to die and I want to die and I want to die. And this went on for a long time. And honestly, when my mom passed away in 2018, I was happy for her. Of course I was. It shook me, losing your mother's not easy. But I was happy for my mother because she suffered for so many years. She really didn't want to live anymore. And by the end of her life, she had lost all her independence. She was in a wheelchair. She couldn't breathe without oxygen. It was not good. It was just not good. So, that was that with my mom. And I didn't go to my mother's funeral. I was in Dallas. I had to go to Vanuatu with my daughters and see Peter. We hadn't seen him in a little bit because I had the restaurant. And I had just been in Bolivia and I had said goodbye to my mom for the 10th time in life. I love you and I'm sorry you feel this way. And when she died, I had to make a decision. I either went to Bolivia to her funeral or I went and met Peter with our daughters in Vanuatu. And, I decided to pick life and I never regretted it because my mother knew I loved her and she knew I was grieving her. I didn't have to be at her funeral. And her funeral, because she was such a social person and so loved, because my mom was she was a very generous human being. And, she was one of these people that would, she had everybody's birthdays in a little agenda and she'd call you on your birthday. She was known for that. She never forgot somebody's birthday. And she took the time to call you and wish you a happy birthday. So my mom's funeral, which I attended via video was very, very, very well concurred, if you want. There was all kinds of people there, all kinds of people. Unlike my father's funeral, my father, when COVID hit, he was just so scared. You know, I don't know if we as humans know when we're about to die, because a little bit before COVID, my father started listening to podcasts about death and things you should know about death and things like that. I guess, well, he was 84, so you start thinking about death, whether you like it or not. But he was adamant, I don't want to get COVID. My father remarried for this fourth time, when he was 80 years old. He met his wife in the gym. She was 78, he was 80. They had the same birthday. They got married that day on their birthdays. And he was just so happy with his wife, and he was scared. He told, he also had COPD like my mother. Interestingly enough, I don't know what caused it, but they both had basically the same disease. The only thing is, my father was adamant about not being oxygen dependent. He's like, I'm not letting this. So he would go out and walk every day. There were days when he could walk miles. There was not miles, but a lot longer than others. And he would sit on a bench and rest and stand up and keep on going. But he was very, very scared. And my dad, he left our family when I was already 21, but for the second time. And although we talked on the phone, and that's how I know all these things, we weren't as close as I was with my mother. But he got COVID. And he celebrated his 85th birthday in the hospital. And we were lucky enough to be able to say goodbye to him through Zoom, because one of my father's grandkids, he had real bad COVID, and he had antibodies, so they let him in. And he was kind enough to connect all of us, a lot of us, and we were able to say goodbye to him. And the thing I remember about that Zoom call was the panic in my father's face. He was lost already. They had barely found him a bed. He was in Arica in Chile, and there was really no beds in the hospitals, but they got him a bed. And one of his current daughters was dating a doctor, I don't know, something like that, and he got a bed in the hospital. But they weren't going to be using their ventilators and things on an 85-year-old. When he turned 85, he was still okay. The 23rd of August. By the 27th, he was gone, and he died on the 30th. And it was so sad to watch my dad be in a red box with nobody around him, because he died of COVID. And everybody was so scared in August of 2020. So anyway, my mom in 2018, my dad in 2020. It's weird when all of a sudden you're an orphan, even at our age. Because I was 60 years old already. It's still weird, All of a sudden you don't have any parents, and all of a sudden I, because I'm the oldest one, was the matriarch. That's what everybody's calling me. I'm like, oh. But when your parents die and you're 60, you're kind of expecting it. They're older. My mother, I knew, as I said, didn't want to live anymore, so I was relieved for her. My father, 85, he had a good run, a good life. again, it hurts when one of your parents dies, but you kind of expect it. But in 2022, yeah. When my brother, actually it was 2021 when they discovered that he had a tumor in his brain, that shook me. I felt so blessed not to be on the island in Vanuatu during COVID. I was able to be in the United States and have my younger daughters a place to land, and no, I'm not special. We all were going through this, all of us, the whole world. But I was also blessed with the opportunity to spend a lot of time with him and follow this journey with him. But that shook me because he was younger than me. All of a sudden, you're faced with mortality, and you don't expect your younger siblings to die. Doesn't matter how old they are, they're still younger siblings, I mean, we were very close in age, and he's your first friend, he's your first accomplice, he's your buddy. That shook me a lot, and I told him, listen, when you die, it's gonna affect me a lot more than when Mom and Dad died. And it was true. I'm sorry. The 3 years have gone by almost, and I still can't talk about my brother. That was hard. It's still hard. The funny thing is, though, that most of the time I can think of him, and I'll start laughing about some stupid thing we did together as kids or as old people. Or I'll smell a smell that reminds me of him, or I'll dream with him. And I'm okay. And then all of a sudden, I'll get hit. Like, I'll wake up thinking about something, and that's the thing with grief. This thing about, it'll go away with time. No. I think what happens is we get used to the grief. We learn how to live with it. But I don't think we get over it ever. We stop thinking about our people maybe more often as time goes by. Life continues, we get busy, we're not thinking about our people that left all the time. But then sometimes grief hits and you just ride the wave. What are you gonna do? And just keep on going. And feel blessed that you had somebody in your life for so many years and you were able to enjoy their life for a long time. Anyways, you also can lose friends. As we get older, our friends die. I remember my mom and my dad, their friends would die, or older family members. It gets hard. Little by little, your circle starts getting smaller. Another thing that my mother grieved a lot, though, was she wanted all of us, we were 5, she wanted all of us to be close to her, And that's not how life works, right? We were all living our own lives. I was in the States and in Vanuatu in the States. My brother was in the States. My sister was in the States. My other sister was in Bolivia, and my younger brother were there. They gave her as much company as they could, but they have to work and do their thing and raise their families, and so it starts getting really lonely. And some people don't enjoy being lonely. Some people are great at being alone. My mother wasn't one of those people. So she'd get sad, and sometimes she'd get manipulative and try and move us with guilt. Yeah, she was good at that. But now that I am 66 next month, and my children are all adults, and I have kids living, my oldest daughter in Bolivia, my son in Dallas, one of my twins in Dallas, one of the twins in New York, and then one of my daughters in Florida. It gets harder and harder to get the whole family together. And it is not an easy process. You know, first you get the empty nest, but you know they're coming back. They're coming back for vacations, and they'll be home soon, and you're so excited and you wait for them. It's so funny with life because you're waiting for them and you're happy, but you've already gotten used to certain things, you know? Like not picking up their clothes from the floor or dirty dishes in the kitchen. And then they get there and the house all of a sudden is full of noise, and you can't handle the happiness. And then you start getting irritated at, you know, shoes in the living room, jackets in the dining room. So the chaos, it comes with chaos. But sometimes that is just beautiful chaos. But as they get older, as they marry people and start their own lives, you need to accept and learn that that's part of life. And oh my gosh, that's not easy, is it? It's just not easy. Yeah. It takes a lot of conversations for me. I talk myself down the ledge. You know, and as much as I am happy for my kids and I admire them and I really think they're great, sometimes it gets really hard because I miss them. And I'd love to have them close, but I don't. It doesn't help that I live on the other side of the world either. That makes things a little harder, but because I don't know if you guys know, but I live in Vanuatu for now. We're going to retire soonish, which is in the South Pacific. So far away on the other side of the world. But I still grieve them. And I think the way I try and deal with that is I have a lot of younger friends on the island, which could be my kids. And I don't know, I'm not replacing them obviously, but I also communicate a lot. Thank God for technology. Thank God for, you know, we can communicate on video, for FaceTime, for WhatsApp, for all of those things. Thank goodness, because we are in contact a lot and we talk, and thank goodness my kids, they tell me things and they like talking to me. So that's a blessing. I think. No, I don't think I know. Oh, I don't know what I'd do if they just ignored me and didn't want to talk to me. But anyway, that's one thing we grieve, right? We grieve our loss of independence. We grieve our loss of children. Then another thing we start grieving is what our body's doing to us, right? I mean, we're like super fine, and then one morning we wake up and we're not that fine anymore. Things start happening. We try hard, you know, to keep mobile and to do this and to do that and strength training and blah, blah, blah. But hey, bodies get old. You know, all of a sudden you can't, yeah, there's one thing I grieve. My super, super spicy Mexican salsas, which I adore. They don't adore me. I love them. You know, this is little things, but they're big changes for me because I now have to be careful if I'm gonna eat a big spicy salsa because I'm gonna pay for it. I don't want to pay for it. I'll be able to eat all the spicy salsa I want. You probably already figured out that we live close to an airport. So many airplanes going by. Anyway, guys, that's my take. We grieve a lot of things as we age. And I guess it's just part of life, yeah? And we just need to learn how to deal with our grief and not let us sink us into a dark hole, which, you know, sometimes can happen. I have friends that have been married for 40 years and get a divorce. Oh God, I can't imagine, you know, just adjusting to something like that. Friends that have lost their partners after many years, or not so many years, just the loves of their lives. Life is hard. It's just hard for all of us, harder for some of us than others. But I think we just need to, I don't know, me personally, I try and focus on the good. I try and ride my dark days as best I can. I'm kind to myself. You know, sometimes I just need to sit in a corner, dark. Don't talk to me. Just let me recharge my batteries. It's almost like a meditation. And snap out of it. I try hard. I'm usually successful. But hey. So I would love it if you would share with us how you deal with grief. And, you know, the little things that you are noticing as you age that are producing grief. Maybe, I don't know, just tell us in the comments. I'd love to hear about it. Guys, thank you for being on The Weight of Thyme. You know, aging is a privilege and it doesn't have to be bad, but it's not always easy either. Thank you for watching. I'm going to see you guys soon.